All right. Yes, we're gonna start things up with Nick's video. It will not take 3. Stop it. So we're gonna take a look at Nick's video about Guy Gabaldon, the Pied Piper of Saipan.
Cheer 100 embers. Right, it will take 2 streams.
Yep. Yes, it's a 1-hour video. It is not the first time we've done 1-hour Nick videos. But we're going to jump into this. Okay. We're going to jump into this. Let's find out. You guys have been talking this up for a while. I am excited. So, let's do this.
A couple of weeks ago, we talked about Alvin York, one of America's most well-known and renowned war heroes. He earned the Medal of Honor in World War I when he captured 132 German POWs. Well, in World War II, a Marine set out to break his record, and he didn't just break it, he broke it by nearly a factor of 10, yet almost nobody knows his name. That's about to change.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about Guy Gabaldon, aka the Pied Piper of Saipan, credited with 33 confirmed kills and capturing over 1,500 POWs. In medieval folklore, the Pied Piper is a man that comes to town with a magic flute. The town is infested with rats, and he says, if you pay me, I'll get rid of all the rats. The townspeople agreed. He then uses his magical flute to entrance all of the rats and guide them out of town. Upon returning back to the town for his payment, they refuse to pay him, so he then uses his magical flute to lure away 130 children, and they're never seen again. As far as I can tell, it's some kind of cautionary tale.
Okay. I didn't know about that part. In the old tale about the Pied Piper, the only part I knew about was the rats, where he basically used his magic flute to lure all the rats away. I didn't know about the part where they refused to pay him and he used the magic flute to lure away 150 children and they were never seen from again. Well, it's not even a fairy tale, Typhoon. I'm pretty sure, didn't he say this was a Bible story? Did Nick not say that this... Was this a Brothers Grimm story, or was this something from the Bible? I thought he said it was from the Bible. Is it a Brothers Grimm? Okay, maybe... I don't know where the hell I heard Bible from. I don't know. But, yeah, it's... Well, Fishy, like, I don't think I ever read the tale of the Pied Piper. I heard it, like... I've heard about it, like, secondhand. And so I only knew about the rats. I did not know about the kids part. Which, yikes. And Override, thank you for the prime.
Essentially saying pay your bills or somebody's going to kidnap your kids, but whatever, it's not important because we're talking about the Pied Piper of Saipan, which is much different. Guy is not a mythical man with a magical flute. He is a 5'3" Marine of Hispanic descent that grew up with a Japanese family in East LA. He understands the Japanese culture, he understands their mindset, and most importantly, he can speak their language. With this deeper understanding of the Japanese than the average American, he goes behind enemy lines by himself and convinces them to surrender, saving both them and the Marines that they would inevitably kill in combat. It is one of the greatest and most dangerous humanitarian efforts ever undertaken by a single man, and we're going to get into all of it right after a word from our sponsor.
Yeah, he's like, you know, maybe an inch taller than me. He's average sized. Average sized, yes, I agree. Average sized. And I'll fight anyone who says otherwise. He wants it. Who wants up? I'll fight you about this.
Hi, welcome to Antique Roadshow. I am the historian appraiser. What do you have for me today?
Well,
God.
my grandfather fought in World War II, and he just recently passed. And I found something odd in a sock drawer.
Oh, for God's sake.
You found little boy in a sock drawer?
You know what I found.
Well, that's little boy.
So, can you tell me what it's worth?
Yeah. Can I get a price check on the entire city of Tokyo?
All right, here's the deal. Super simple, straightforward business model. You give them money, they turn around and make sure that data brokers on the internet aren't selling your personal information. What does that even mean? Okay, here's the entire internet and every free service on the planet inside of a nutshell. Okay, there's the saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. What that means is pretty much anything on the internet that you use, that's a service, whether that be Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all of it. Okay, it's all an app. So one of two things is happening. They're either going to feed you ads, and that's how that company makes money since their service is free, or they're going to collect your personal information, then turn around and sell it to data brokers on the internet, and then they're going to turn around and sell it to whoever buys it, and next thing you know, you're getting 17,000 robocalls every single day.
They made a movie about this guy. It was called From Hell to Eternity. Nick has words about the casting near the end.
Oh, okay.
And that's where Delete Me comes in. They will look through all the major data brokers and find the ones that are selling your personal information and submit opt-out requests on your behalf, and then they are legally obligated to comply. And then they'll continue to monitor these data brokers, and if they get your information again, Delete Me will submit an opt-out request again. Basically, you're paying Delete Me to get rid of all the downsides of all of the free stuff on the
He turned the little
internet,
boy
which I
gorilla
think is
into a tax
absolutely worth
write-off
it. If
a
you want to check them
long
out, I'll
time
link in
ago.
the discount code
Don't
down
worry.
below. Let's get back to the video. All right, our story begins on March 22nd, 1926. Guy Gabaldon is born. He is one of 7 kids, and he grew up during the Great Depression. Great Depression starts in 1929, goes till 1939.
Okay, so we have one check mark in the World War II badass checklist. Born in the Great Depression? Check.
Pretty much his entire childhood takes place during the Great Depression in East LA. Like pretty much every other World War II hero we talk about, he grew up dirt poor, made him tough as nails. We're not going to waste a bunch of time on it. What's unique about Guy is that he actually grew up going out and shining shoes at the age of like 7 through 10 on Skid Row. And just so we're all on the same page, Skid Row in the 1930s, much different than Skid Row now, okay? It wasn't full of a bunch of people that were suffering from drug problems and like rampant drug abuse. It was a bunch of people that had just genuinely lost everything in the Great Depression. These people living in tents were like former investment bankers, former businessmen that just truly lost everything, and now they were homeless. So it's
Good sounds from the tent cities that we see in modern day Skid Row, isn't it? And if I'm not mistaken, Nick's talked about one of these great war heroes before that as a child shined shoes. That was his thing. For the life of me, we've talked about so many. I'm trying to remember which one he talked about previously that was a shoe shine boy. Was it Benavidez that did? Was it Roy Benavidez that did shoe shining? Okay, for the life of me, I couldn't remember which of the heroes we've talked about before was it. Okay, yeah, so it's not unlike, although, hold up. Although Roy Benavidez didn't grow up in the Great Depression. Yeah, that's where I was going with it. Roy Benavidez was not Great Depression. He grew up in the 50s? Was it the 50s or the 60s that Roy Benavidez grew up? They were poor, yes, but they weren't Great Depression poor. So, was it 40s? Okay, it was in the 40s. So, bit different. Big different.
Still a wild place for a 10-year-old to be hanging out, but it wasn't like excessively dangerous like it is today. And over time, he kind of became like the mascot of Skid Row. Like all the homeless people knew who he was. They were all friendly to him. The cops knew who he was. The cops were looking out for him. The local businesses all knew him. He was going door to door on local businesses, shining shoes. Half the time he was literally sleeping in a bar near Skid Row because they knew him, and he would shine shoes all night long. As time went on, he got involved with a gang called the Mo Gang. He started getting more and more into a life of crime, and his family stepped in and they sent him to live in New Mexico with his grandfather to help straighten him out.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
And his grandfather is like nothing he'd ever seen before. He grew up in LA hanging out on Skid Row. His grandfather was born in the mid-1800s and had done real cowboy shit, lived in New Mexico his entire life, carried a revolver on his hip, and kept a loaded shotgun by the front door. And Grandpa is kind of offended that his grandson doesn't speak Spanish and has no idea about the heritage that he comes from. So Grandpa teaches him both how to speak Spanish and tells him all about his heritage. He's a descendant of the conquistadors. And as time goes on, that's exactly what happened. Guy starts taking a ton of pride in his his heritage, and he doesn't want to go hang out on Skid Row and be involved in crime anymore. He wants to be an upstanding citizen and accomplish great things. He ends up coming back home to East LA when he's about 12 years old, and he decides that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to put his best foot forward. He's going to school. He's trying. He's putting in an effort. And that's when he kind of takes notice to other people around him. And there's this Japanese family, and the Japanese people that he's met just seem to excel at absolutely everything. The kids do great in school. The parents were first-generation immigrants that came to America with nothing, and now they're all business owners and upstanding members of the community, and Guy decides that that's who he's going to start associating with more. He ends up...
Interesting. Even back during the Great Depression era, I don't... And yes, Shadow Sparta, I see you. Even back during, like, the Great Depression era, and I hate to say it's I hate to say it's a stereotype, but the quote-unquote stereotype of, you know, the Asian kids being overachievers and doing extremely well in school was still a thing, even back during the Great Depression. This is like, I mean, it's a stereotype for a reason. That this is kind of a tradition that has been in existence for generations. It's very interesting that like I knew that it was a thing back during like the 50s and the 60s. I did not think it stretched back as far as like the freaking 1920s. Honestly, I didn't think that this stereotype actually extended that far back. It's a culture, it's not just like people of Japanese descent. This was like Asiatic. This was kind of like an Asiatic descent, Japanese and Chinese primarily. And you know, with the Chinese one, it's still very prevalent today. The Japanese, I think the stereotype is still there in a kind of a different way. Well, that's Revan. That's why what I was saying, an Asiatic culture. It's these days you see it more prevalent in Chinese than Japanese, but it's with Japanese, I do think it is still there. There is the whole Japanese work culture, so it is still there. I didn't think that the history of said stereotype extended so far back. I figured it was more, it was something that really kicked in like post World War II. So it's very interesting how far back this reaches. And Lionator, thank you for the follow, by the way.
Becoming really close friends with the Nakano family and ultimately ends up moving in with them for a number of years, not because he has like issues with his mother and his siblings, but it's the Great Depression. They've got 7 kids. It's a lot of mouths to feed. There's not a lot of money going around. And this wealthy Japanese family was willing to take him in, feed him, give him everything he needed to succeed and excel at school. And that's just what ended up happening. During his time with the Nakano family, Guy wanted to know absolutely everything about the Japanese culture. He was obsessed with samurai and the Bushido Code of Honor. He learned about Japanese history. He ended up learning how to speak Japanese, not in the formal, I'm going to sit down in a classroom setting, this word means that word, and that word means this word. No, he was just immersed in Japanese speaking, so he could speak it fluently like a normal Japanese person. And this goes on for years. It's great. It's a time of Guys.
Okay, holy crap. Fishy, that's where I was going too. Like, literally, motherfucker became trilingual probably before he hit age 10? Like, he was speaking English when he was in LA, goes to live with his grandfather, gets immersed in Mexican culture, and the history of his culture dating back to the conquistadors, and is like totally on board with that, and then he moves in with this Japanese family, and all of a sudden he's immersed in that, and he's now fluent in Japanese. Like, this kid is smart. The fact that at like such a young age, he was able to pick up and become fluent in 2 goddamn languages. This is granted, they were absolutely built differently back during, the 1920s, 1930s. No question, and even prior to that. No question, these, people that grew up during those times were 100% built fucking different. But even for that, this is impressive that he became tri-fucking-lingual at such a young age. That this kid has a great brain right now. I'm like, it's a little scary how good it is.
His life. And then when he's 15 years old, Pearl Harbor happens. Shortly after that, FDR issues Executive Order 9066, essentially stripping all Japanese Americans of all of their rights. And then his family, the Nakano family, is forced to leave behind their businesses, their homes, everything they have, and go into a concentration camp. And Guy absolutely hates this. It ruins his entire life. He's resentful of all the Americans around.
This must have fucking killed him. Like, we've heard about, like, you know, what it was like. Like, we've heard about it in other videos. That while the concentration camps were not bad places, this is not like the concentration camps in Europe as affected by the Nazis. This, you know, they were not death camps. The concentration camps in, you know, in the US, because the thing to remember is concentration camp is not death camp. It's in the name. Concentration camp literally means a camp that has a concentration of people in it. And the US concentration camps, as Nick has said in previous videos, were not bad places. They were not like living in squalor. They weren't like sleeping in their own shit and pissing a bucket or whatever. The concentration camps of the US were reasonably appointed and comfortable, but they were, yeah, they were in, you know, they were internment camps, so that, you know, but they were still essentially prisoners, which is the crux of it. Is like the U.S. made well-kept prisoners, but prisoners nonetheless of their own country. And to a kid of 15, having his what is amounted to essentially his entire family just ripped away from him, because I have no doubt that this Japanese family was a family to him. He lived with them. He became immersed in their culture. They were a family to him. And to have the American government just rip them away after Pearl Harbor must have been utterly heartbreaking for him. And I can only imagine the pain and the anger that he must have felt from this. Like Nick was on the verge of saying that he hates the government doing this. I don't blame him at all whatsoever. This would be absolutely enraging that the people that have worked hard and proved themselves to be as much American citizens as naturally born American citizens, just because they came from Japan prior to all this shit, they're like, fuck you, you're going into a concentration camp. It's honestly, the fact that he ends up being a soldier for the U.S. is amazing in and of itself, because I can't imagine that he would want to have anything to do with anything U.S. government related after this was done to his family.
Around him that are too stupid to understand that the Nakano family and all the other great Japanese Americans aren't Japanese, they're American just like everybody else. And he absolutely hates the Imperial Japanese for attacking America and creating this entire situation. On top of that, his older brother was in the United States.
Oh, okay. So his anger was properly placed. His anger was properly placed. Is that he hated the Imperial Japanese for doing this. So he has a target. Okay, here we go.
America and creating this entire situation. On top of that, his older brother was in the United States Navy and he was at Pearl Harbor during the attack. Thankfully, he survived, but the Japanese tried to kill his brother too, just adding further insult and anger to that injury. But he's 15. There's absolutely nothing he can do about it. He's not going to be allowed to join the military for another 2 years, so he just bides his time.
Unless he
ends up getting into a little bit of trouble. He gets a motorcycle, which is like the only joy he has is riding his motorcycle around town, and he just waits for 2 years to pass so he can go off to war and take his aggression out on the Japanese. And during this 2 years, Guy's paying attention to the news. In the first couple of years for the Pacific War, America going to war against the Japanese, it was not going good for America. Really, the only silver lining that America had was its submarine fleet. The submarines were going out and taking the fight to the Japanese, and they were winning with incredible stories like Dudley Mush-Morton and the USS Wahoo. Seeing this, it became what Guy wanted to do. He wanted to go serve in the Navy on a submarine and take the fight to the Japanese to get his revenge for ruining his life. So on his 17th birthday, he goes straight to the Navy recruiter, First off, he's too short. You got to be 5'4". He's 5'3 3/4. He's like, I'm trying to serve on a submarine. Okay, but how tall I am shouldn't matter. Honestly, the smaller the better. I'm saving room for other people. And they're like, fucking hop up on your tippy toes, guy. Okay, so he gets up. Okay, you're 5'4". Great, wonderful. He goes through the medical exam. Oh my God, you have a perforated eardrum. You're not going to be allowed to serve in the U.S. Navy. And the doctor thinks he's doing Guy a solid. He thinks he's giving Guy good news. And he's like, relax, son. You're not going to have to go off to war. We can't take you with this perforated eardrum. But that's not the case. Guy wants to go to war. He's immediately pissed off. So he starts arguing with the doctor and the recruiter. And they're like, look, son,
Yeah, this one, I don't know how he's going to get out of it. Because with a perforated eardrum, you have a pressure issue. If he's going onto a sub, that perforated eardrum is going to give him problems when they die because of the pressure. This one, standing on tippy toes, is not going to get him out of this. Well, no, Revan, it's not so much cheat on the ear test. This is a legit danger. If he goes onto a sub with a perforated eardrum and they do a dive, his eardrum could rupture. And he could have some real serious problems if he was to go onto a sub with this kind of condition. It's unfortunately in this situation, it's a deal breaker.
We've already overlooked your height. We can't overlook this perforated eardrum because when the guns go off, it could be a big problem. And he's like, I'm trying to serve on a submarine. What guns are going off inside of a submarine? Okay, if I hear a loud noise, I'm probably seconds away from dying anyways, and it's not gonna matter. Just let me go be on the sub so I can fight the Japanese. And they're like, sorry, can't do it. Fuck off.
I'm a peacock, Captain. You gotta let me fly on this one.
But Guy, he's not taking no for an answer, so he walks right out the Navy recruiter, walks right next door to the Marine recruiter, goes in and is like, put me in, coach. Literally whatever you got. All I know is that the Navy and the Marines are the main guys fighting the Japanese right now, and I want to fight the Japanese. I'll do anything. Recruiter takes one look at him and is like, you're not tall enough. Kick rocks. At which point, Guy has an idea. He remembers he read a couple of weeks ago that the Navy and the Marines and the military as a whole is having a humongous trouble finding Japanese interpreters because they've taken all the people that can speak Japanese and stuck them in concentration camps. They estimated that there was less than 100 Americans not of Japanese descent that could fluently speak Japanese at this point in time, and he's one of them. So he tells the recruiter, wait, I can speak Japanese.
What does katana mean? It means Japanese sword.
Oh my God, he actually chose this clip. Oh, no, this is not Time Cop, Redman. This is fucking Samurai Cop. This is one of the all-time best bad movies ever made. Oh, he chose this. Oh, Bennis Group, this is fantastic. Nick, fantastic choice. Brilliant choice.
Wait, I can speak Japanese.
What does katana mean?
It means Japanese sword.
At this point, the recruiter's ears kind of perk up like, yep, okay, not many people know how to speak Japanese. If I can recruit this kid and get him into linguist school to be an interpreter, it'd make me look real good. I can fudge that paperwork. So he's like, okay, here's the deal. I'm willing to fudge this paperwork. Say you're a 1/4 inch taller so you can become a Marine, but I'm going to send you over to this building where there's a Marine linguist. You got to prove to him that you can actually speak Japanese. And if he says you can, I'll get you in. At this point, Guy's like, sweet, no problem. Goes over to the Marine linguist. Marine linguist is like, yep, dude speaks Japanese. Goes back to the recruiter, gets the paperwork signed. He's getting shipped off to basic. Then he's going to linguist school, and he's going to be an interpreter.
Sure, that sounds fun.
Nice.
Arigato.
So, Guy ships off to basic at 5'3", 126 pounds, and he's Hispanic. And at this point in time, the United States Marine Corps was 100% white by regulation and policy until 1941. So he's literally one of the first not white Marines ever, and he's a really small guy. So he gets made fun of, and he gets a lot of shit. Some of it's for his size, a lot of it's for his race. It's really not that great of a time. He barely makes it through basic training, but he does. He graduates. He officially becomes a United States Marine. After graduating boot camp, he is given 30 days of leave before he has to report to linguist school, so he goes back home in his fancy new Marine dress uniform, and boy oh boy.
Raven, they said he is 5'3 3/4. Basically, you little guy. He's a little guy.
is he a celebrity amongst the ladies. In his own words, and I quote, "The gals were very patriotic and were willing to show their love of their country by giving all for their servicemen. And I believe it was my solemn duty to help these girls show their patriotism."
Kill Marine! Our boy was a fucking pleasure. God bless him for it. 5'3" metric is, if I remember correctly, 63 centimeters? If I remember my conversion correctly? I believe it's like 62 or 63 centimeters, I think.
Well, homie's definitely a Marine. So 30 days of leave comes and goes. He reports to linguist school. He's there for about a month, and then he earns a weekend pass, and he is explicitly ordered not to return home. He can just go out in like the surrounding area and not get in a bunch of trouble. So naturally, Guy goes back home because he wants to help ladies, you know, show their patriotism some more.
And that's it.
While back home in East LA, he's hanging out with a bunch of hot Russian chicks. They're
sorry. Yes, 163. I left off the 100. Yes, 163. Although, rather you're saying it's 173, I forget. You know what? I'm in Canada. I still think in feet and inches.
A boy out there rising more than one type of flagpole.
Yes, indeed.
slamming vodka. He ends up getting into an altercation with a large Russian man who punches him and ends up breaking his jaw in 2 places. Ends up getting his jaw wired shut like he's 50 Cent, shows back up to linguist school with his jaw wired shut, and as I'm sure you can imagine, in linguist school, having your jaw wired shut is kind of a big deal, and he violated orders, so he gets kicked out of linguist school, sent back home until he's fully recovered, and then he's supposed to report back, and the Marine Corps is going to give him a new MOS. Doctor says it's going to take about 2 months to recover from this broken jaw, and the Marine doctor then looks him dead in the eyes and is like, Marine, do not go home and get drunk. Do not drink a bunch of alcohol. If you puke with your jaw wired shut, you will drown on your own puke. Do not drink alcohol.
Of course. Of course.
So he goes, spends the next 2 months having fun, drinking booze when he's not supposed to, reports back for duty. He's now at the whim of the United States Marine Corps. Just whatever they need, that's what they're going to assign him. It's World War II. He obviously gets stationed as infantry. So he goes off to infantry school, you learn the basics, and then after you've learned the basics, you get assigned to like a special type of weapon. You could be a rifleman, you could be a machine gunner, you could be a mortarman, and he gets put as a mortarman. And of course, he's the new guy, and he's here because he got in trouble, so he's gonna be the guy carrying the base plate, which is this gigantic 45-pound hunk of metal that he has to carry into battle with him to set the mortar on top of. Which is, in my opinion, the shittiest job. Like, I was a medic, so I had to carry a gun, ammo, all my own personal stuff, and the big heavy aid bag. The only dude I ever looked at in the military out of any other job and been like, at least I'm not that guy, was the private carrying the mortar plate for the...
Fuck. Look at all this shit this man has to carry. God damn. All right. Zets and current serving service people in chat. Have you guys had to carry a rock setup like this before? Have you guys had to carry this much shit on your back? This is a lot. Yeah, Revan, he just needs to change his socks. He'll be fine. Holy crap. That's like a full pack to the gills rock. Plus the base plate. Jesus. Yeah, no, you got a couple bottles of Pepsi hanging out here too. Yep, I see it.
Mortar crew, because that shit looked like it absolutely sucked. And bear in mind, guy is 5'3", 126 pounds. But you know what? He does it. He doesn't complain. He's a Marine. He's going to get the job done. He wants to go off and fight the Japanese. So he graduates, becomes a mortar, goes off, joins his official Marine unit. They're gearing up to deploy, obviously. And while they're getting ready to deploy, they're going through a bunch of training and they're taking volunteers if anybody in the infantry wants to try out and be part of a scout platoon. Typically, this was like a voluntary only type of thing. These were going to be be the best infantry guys that were volunteering to go behind enemy lines in small groups and spy on the enemy, gather intel, do important stuff, which to a 5 foot 326 pound guy being sneaky and not getting caught sounds a lot easier than carrying this gigantic fucking base plate. So he volunteers, he makes the cut, he becomes a scout.
Nice.
From here, they ship off into the Pacific, no idea where they're going, just straight up, get your ass on the boat, we'll tell you what you need to know when you need to know it. They wind up making a stop in Hawaii for a little bit, and then they ship off again, no idea where they're going. After like a month on this ship, they come over the radio and tell them that they are going to be participating in the amphibious landing of Saipan. They are then briefed on the entire situation regarding Saipan. It is mid-1944, the war in the Pacific has switched. The Americans are now winning and beating back the Japanese, and the Japanese have adopted a strategy that they are going to defend Japan itself and a ring of islands around Japan that give Japan enough space so that America won't be able to launch bombing raids on the main island. Ideally, if they can hold these islands and prevent America from launching major bombing raids on mainland Japan, they're going to be able to rebuild their military, rebuild their navy, and get back into the fight and turn the tide in their favor. And for this Japanese defensive plan to work, they absolutely have to hold Saipan because it is one of the only islands big enough for America to land their super fortress, the B-29 bomber, on top of. If America manages to take Saipan, they're going to be able to use it to launch large-scale bombing raids on mainland Japan. This is going to demoralize the Japanese people, as well as allow America to cripple their industrial capability, making it so they can't rebuild their military force. If you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that the taking of Saipan would be the beginning of the end for the Japanese Empire. They know that. America knows that. America's got to have it. Japan can't afford to lose it. This is all-out total war at this point. To make things worse and even more horrific,
5F3 means he grow in other places.
Well, the lady certainly thought so, Durhan. I didn't hear anything in Nick's discussion about that, where any of the ladies were disappointed in him.
Japanese propaganda has persuaded the vast majority of Japanese civilians that America is the aggressor in this war. They believe that America started this war for no reason and that they are quite literally cannibalistic barbarians that are coming to eat them, and it would be better to die fighting them than to surrender to them.
Hey!
Okay. Now, am I crazy, or is that probably the worst kind of propaganda you can feed your people? Is to basically build up the Americans as being this absolutely insane war machine that are cannibals that are coming to you, rather than like saying that, oh, they're a bunch of cowards, that they're only using numbers and we can easily beat them back. Like, they're hyping them up as boogeymen, which will actually instill fear in their people, not like get them riled up like, yeah, we're gonna go kick their ass. It's like, no, I don't want to go anywhere near these fuckers. We should run away. Like, exactly, Robin. Like, this doesn't sound like a great plan from the Japanese, honestly.
You! Wait a
See?
second! Look,
Exactly!
I'm not gonna eat you. I just...
America's attack on Saipan begins on June 11th, 1944, when they open up with a massive naval bombardment that goes all day and all night for 3 days straight. June 14th, the Marine Corps hits the beach, landing 8,000 men in under 20 minutes, and they are in an intense firefight trying to establish a beachhead for hours. And Guy is one of these 8,000 Marines. As he advances up the beach, he starts to see the dead bodies of Imperial Japanese soldiers, and it almost stops him in his tracks. It starts to mess with him. They look just like the Nisei. They look like his friends back home. And in that moment, he realizes he shouldn't be here. He should be back home drinking with those Russian chicks. He's got himself way in over his head. He doesn't know if he can kill people that look just like his friends. And he starts to ask himself,
This is sounding familiar. This is not the first time we've had one of these war heroes in the middle of battle, just like stop and go, what the fuck am I doing here? I shouldn't be here. It was, who was it? It was was it the Marine Flyer? I don't think it was Dick Bong. It was, oh fuck, who was it? It was that other Marine. No, not Hexo Ridge. It was I think it was Smokey Joe that I'm thinking of. Yeah, Smokey Joe had that exact same moment. When their airfield was getting hit by the Japanese, and he had that exact same reaction, going, oh shit, what the fuck is going on? I shouldn't be here. I've made a terrible mistake. And what did Smokey Joe do? Fought through it, got in that cockpit, and kicked ass. So, let's see how Guy does.
Why are they still fighting? They're losing. They have to know they're losing this war, and they're going to continue to lose until it's over. All of this death is completely unnecessary. Why won't they just quit? And then, as Guy's having this existential crisis and panic attack advancing up the beach, he sees his first dead Marine. And this stops him in his tracks, quite literally standing straight up on the beach with machine gun fire flying in both directions, and he's just standing there locked in, staring at this Marine's corpse. His buddy Hurley's in a foxhole nearby, yelling at Guy, "What are you doing? Get down," but it's all just background noise as he's locked in on this Marine's corpse, and he realizes that as much as he wants to save everybody, not everybody's gonna let themselves be saved, and he has to make a decision. If the Japanese aren't gonna quit, he needs to kill them first before they kill him or his other Marines. And with that, Hurley gets out of his foxhole and drags Guy into the foxhole with him and tells him to get his fucking head in the game. From here, Guy, Hurley, and the rest of the Marines fight for 8 hours straight to establish a 1-mile beachhead before the sun sets. By the next morning, any reservations Guy had about killing people that look like his friends are completely gone. He still wants to afford the enemy the opportunity to surrender, but if they don't take it, whatever happens next isn't his fault, it's on them. At this point, the fighting has died down completely, and Guy's commanding officer, Captain Schwab, says, just keep manning the foxholes, keep looking that direction. We're going to be setting up observation posts. We're going to be sending out scouts to try to gather intel so we can start invading further into this island. So Guy kind of sits there for a little bit, and after a while he starts to get bored, and he starts thinking to himself like, hey, I mean, I'm just one Marine. If I slipped away for a little bit, nobody would miss me. And for whatever reason, he decides he's going to slip out of the front line and into no man's land and into enemy territory. And with that, Guy is now advancing into enemy territory by himself, and nobody knows that he's gone, which is an incredibly stupid decision, but he's an 18-year-old kid, and that's what 18-year-old kids do. As he's making his way into the jungle, he comes across a Japanese trench. Inside of it is what appears to be 3 dead Japanese soldiers that have been hit by some kind of indirect fire. So he slips past that trench and he figures, okay, there's obviously going to be more trenches along the same line of area. Like, this is a defensive line. So he advances a little bit further and then loops back around and heads back towards the Marine line. Sure enough, he comes up behind a Japanese trench with 3 very alive Japanese soldiers manning the trench, pointing towards the Marine line, not expecting anybody to come up from behind them. Guy, doing exactly what he told himself he was going to do, affording the enemy the chance to surrender, he sneaks right up to their trench before yelling in Japanese, "Turn around with your hands up." And sure enough, one of the Japanese soldiers wings around with his gun leveled at him, and Guy drops him immediately. The other 2 immediately drop their weapons and raise their hands. Guy then communicates to him in Japanese, "I'm not going to hurt you. If you surrender, let me walk you back to our line. I'm not going to have to kill you." And they agree, and that's exactly what Guy does. As he's walking back with the Japanese soldiers in front of him, he has them take their white undershirts off and wave them over their head as this flag of surrender as he's walking.
And yeah, student, you're right. Like, Nick said that this is an incredibly stupid thing to do. The one thing you definitely don't want to do as a soldier, as a Marine, especially in a combat zone, is you don't want to go freelance. Going freelance will fuck over your buddies and will fuck over any battle plans that command might have. It could ruin any and all battle plans that might be drawn up because of the actions of one person deciding to go rogue. You are correct, Revan. This is like World War II, so it is a different time, different combat tactics, different communications. Nowadays, if you had someone like this go rogue, they'd probably get the shit kicked out of them by their buddies once they got back to camp. WW2, different mindset, different tactics. It could be a little bit more forgiving with, given with what he's doing. I'm guessing he's still going to get a chewing out. He's probably had a chew out before.
Behind them with his gun leveled at him. As he's walking, he realizes he just killed a guy, and he didn't feel anything. He didn't feel pride in killing the enemy. He didn't feel remorse. He didn't feel bad. He wasn't making a decision. The other guy made the decision. He afforded him the opportunity to surrender, and he didn't take it. Guy was not the decision maker in this scenario. He was simply the consequences of making the wrong decision. And because of that, He felt nothing. As they approach the Marine line, they obviously get spotted as the Marines start yelling, "Holy shit, look what Guy brought in." They know it's Guy because he's the only Marine that's 5'3", bringing in 2 prisoners alive, which at this point in the war was absolutely unprecedented. The Japanese never surrendered. How in the hell did 5'3", 120-pound Guy sneak behind enemy lines and convince 2 Japanese Imperial soldiers to surrender?
Big balls, huh? Big gone, huh?
Guy brings the prisoners in, hands them off to the chain of command. He's on cloud 9. He thinks he's the shit. He just did something awesome that almost nobody else had ever done. And then Captain Schwab comes up and starts chewing his fucking ass. Essentially saying, yeah, I'm glad it worked out. Also, that was stupid as fuck. Don't ever do that again. And if you do, I'm gonna have you court-martialed and send your ass to prison. Do not do that. Guy's kind of all in his feels about it. He still feels like he did something incredible. He should be getting rewarded, and instead he's getting his ass chewed. But again, this is how an 18-year-old kid thinks, so he's just kind of like, whatever, fine, I'll stay put like you told me to.
I mean, no matter the era, the 18-year-old thought process doesn't really change, does it? At 18, they're for the boys. As the expression goes, they're young, dumb, and full of cum. And they think they can take on the world. They know that they're on that cusp of adulthood where they think they know everything. They think they've got the world by the balls and they can do whatever they want. And then they get the reality check by people that actually know better.
So for the next 2 days, Guy stays put. Both nights, the Japanese launch massive bonsai charges towards the Marine line, ultimately failing each time, resulting in hundreds, if not thousands, of dead Japanese soldiers. And the entire thing just drives Guy absolutely nuts. Why? Why are you just running straight into our machine gun fire, desperately trying to take one of us with you? It's so much unnecessary death. He just wants him to give up. So Guy decides, fuck it, I'm gonna go out on my own again. He waits till dark and then he sneaks off and he's crawling through enemy territory and he comes across a dead Marine. And this Marine had the M1 carbine. Guy has been carrying the M1 Grand, big, huge, heavy rifle. It's like 10 pounds. He wants this lighter, smaller carbine. He's a small guy, so he decides to swap it out. Now he's got an M1 carbine with a bunch of magazines in his pockets. From here, he keeps crawling through enemy.
Wait. Did the carbine have mags or did it have clips? Hold up. I'm trying to remember the M1 carbine. Yeah, this one they switched out to mags, isn't it? Yeah, it took a second for my brain to orient itself. For some reason I was thinking, wait a minute, didn't that M1 carbine have clips just like the Garand? But no, it did. My brain's back on track. My brain is back on track. And Andre, thank you for the follow, by the way.
Territory, it's dark, he can't really see shit, and then he smells Japanese food. So he follows the smell of the Japanese food and he follows it and he follows it, and then he starts to hear muffled Japanese voices and he follows those and he follows those until he comes to the mouth of this big military dugout. At this point, it's still dark. He realizes he can't engage right now. If he does manage to take some prisoners, he's not going to be able to keep track of them in the dark, so he decides he's going to sit there, posted up, and wait until the sun comes up. From here, he finds a good hiding spot near the dugout hole where he can still listen and hear what they're talking about, and as he's listening to him that night, he hears them talking about how these stupid American devils don't understand that there's a mighty Japanese flotilla coming that's going to reinforce the Japanese and completely wipe the Marines off the map. And Guy realizes that these Japanese soldiers aren't getting any communications. They have no idea that the Japanese Navy flotilla that they're talking about has been completely destroyed by U.S. Navy Task Force 58 in what's known as the Marianas Turkey Shoot, where we sank 3 of their aircraft carriers, a ton of their escorts, and downed hundreds of Japanese planes. That chunk of reinforcements that they're relying on doesn't even exist anymore, and they have no idea. At this point, Guy realizes, okay, well, they're not going to willingly surrender because they don't understand to the degree of which they're losing. In fact, they think they're winning, so he's going to have to be a little bit more persuasive when the sun comes up. So the sun comes up, he grabs himself a frag grenade, pulls the pin, lets the spoon go, counts to 3, throws it in the dugout, immediately grabs another frag grenade, pulls the pin, lets the spoon go, counts to 3, throws it in the dugout, grabs a smoke grenade, pulls the pin, lets go of the spoon, throws it in the dugout, posts up on his rock aimed at the dugout entrance, and starts yelling to the Japanese, "Come out with your hands up." And then somebody comes walking through the smoke with their hands up. Okay, good. This is great. And then another guy. Okay, even better. And then another guy. Okay, that's pretty good. And then another. And another, and another, and pretty soon, he's got 12 fucking Imperial Japanese soldiers
fucking clown tark dugout. Jesus. I bet he was going, well, this is unexpected. Freaking, and another, and another, and another. Okay, cool. I got a dozen. Bonus.
Standing there with his hands up, way more than he anticipated. He's got a gun with 15 bullets, 12 prisoners that probably want to kill him if they get the opportunity, and he is in way over his head. He then collects himself and is like, okay, fake it till you make it. In a stern, assertive voice tells him they're completely surrounded. If they make a move, all the Marines in the tree line that you can't see, don't look for them. They're there, I promise. If you make a move, they're all gonna shoot you. Just fucking cooperate and listen to me. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm gonna escort you back to the lines. We'll feed you. We'll take care of you. Your POWs, you're not gonna be harmed. He then asks him if there's anybody else in the bunker. The Japanese soldiers tell him only the 4 dead bodies from the group.
Another one. Another one. Another one.
Basically, yeah.
Asks him if there's anybody else in the bunker. The Japanese soldiers tell him only the 4 dead bodies from the grenade blast, and he's like, okay, cool, here's the deal. Raise your hands over your head and start running that way. I'm gonna run behind you. Guy wants to get the fuck out of there before they realize that he's literally just one dude by himself. So they all take off running. Guy's running behind him with his rifle raised at him, and in a matter of minutes, they break through the jungle and they can see the Marine Corps lines, and Guy's like, oh shit, thank God, we are way closer than I thought we were. Apparently, low crawling through the jungle in pitch black, following nothing but smells, kind of makes you lose your sense of direction. They break through, they get to the lines. Guy hands off these 12 new prisoners.
Okay, hang on. Something I want to point out here is where this is different from Sergeant York. Because, you know, Nick was comparing him to Sergeant York at the beginning, whereas, you know, we talked about Sergeant York, now we're going to talk about Guy. Guy, this is a kid with not the same confidence. Like, every step that he's made, he's kind of working on, I could say it feels like there's a lot of instinct working here. And when he realizes what he's done, he's actually having these oh shit moments. Like, he wasn't like confidently marching these guys back, even though, you know, even knowing that he had more ammo in his weapon than there were people, and he could have dropped all of them. He was still scared. Unlike Sergeant York, who was basically doing his, you know, I'm on a mission from God and I have no fear, he's actually scared. That's a big difference in life, you know, with this. He's having multiple of these oh shit moments. And he's still prevailing. He's still able to do this. And yeah, like Raven, that's the other thing. It is Alvin wasn't trying to capture POWs, and it feels like Guy is actively going for the POW versus the kill. Because, you know, as Nick was saying, he doesn't want to actually kill anybody. Because these people, you know, despite like going, okay, it doesn't matter that these people remind me of home or remind me of my family, you know, they're making a choice. He's still holding on to that little kernel of, I don't actually want to kill these people. And, you know, he's having these humanizing moments of fear that is vastly different from Sergeant York, which is just, it's interesting and it's fascinating to see these two different heroes that are doing functionally the same thing, but are very different people.
To the chain of command, and then Captain Schwab comes up and is like, Guy, what the fuck? He's like, what did I tell you? I told you if you did that again, I was going to court-martial you. But here's the deal. The other 2 prisoners have been interrogated, and they gave us a bunch of valuable intel that's going to save a bunch of Marine lives, and these 12 are going to provide even more valuable intel, so I don't know what the fuck to do with you. And the entire thing just kind of turns into like, I'm not going to tell you you can do this, but also, if you do and you're successful, you're probably not going to get in trouble. It's kind of the whole, I'm just going to look the other way thing. So now that he's kind of got the green light, he goes out the next night. And now it's a whole thing. Like the Marines are having betting pools, betting on how many prisoners Guy's going to bring in next, like it's March Madness. And his buddy Hurley is either crazy or he has an extreme amount of faith in his best friend, or he did the math and was like, okay, well, he captured 2 the first night, then 12. He's probably going to catch 50 the next time. I mean, if the pattern continues. So he puts a bunch of money in the pot that Guy is going to capture 50 enemy soldiers by himself next.
That's very interesting. How'd you come up with that guess?
Guess? That ain't no guess. That's what it's gonna be.
So Guy goes out, does the same thing again, tracks down a spot where the enemies are going to be, and he's right up against this mountain, and there's this cave complex, waits there all night, listens, observes, and then when the dawn comes, he goes out and he orders them to surrender. And at this point, he's getting it dialed in. He figures out that if he yells into the caves with like a condescending tone, it kind of demoralizes the Japanese soldiers because they're very status oriented in Japanese culture. So if they're getting talked to condescendingly, it gives them that feeling in the pit of their stomach, like, oh shit, why is he so confident? He must know something I don't. I must have already lost. So he's yelling into this cave in the
Okay, honestly, I was not expecting. Like, the rationale behind it that Nick explained makes perfect sense. That in Japanese culture, if you basically, present yourself as being bigger than you are, people, in Japanese culture, they believe it because they, when in Japanese culture, it's like honesty is a big thing for them. So it's like you don't present yourself like that unless you are that. So you don't present yourself as better than someone else unless you really are that, because if you try and do so and you are proven otherwise, there is dishonor involved there. And at this point in time, the Japanese are still very much, involved with personal honor. I'm going to be realistic though. I was not expecting that to be the reason why the Japanese would respond to his condescending voice. I thought it might have been that they were already demoralized and they just were looking for an excuse to surrender. So, so that rationale was surprising to me. It's given how they were responding before, I thought they were just like, we're all ready to be done with this shit. So if somebody's gonna like, okay, we wanna, you wanna take us prisoner, okay, I will go with you. So that's what I was expecting, and very interesting.
Sending tone like, you're completely surrounded, all our guns are aimed at this cave complex, you guys have 5 minutes to come out or I'm gonna have the flamethrowers come in here and barbecue all your asses alive. He's like negotiating, he's really getting this thing dialed in. He appeals to their Bushido code of honor. He's like, look, you guys have already lost, there's no point in dying, depriving your wives and kids of a father for your code of honor. Just give it up, come out, surrender, I'm gonna feed you, I'm gonna take care of you, you're not gonna be mistreated, just end this nonsense. And sure enough, dudes start coming out with their hands up. Not just Imperial soldiers, but some civilians too. 52 people come out of this cave complex. Guy probably internally shitting himself because he doesn't even have 52 bullets on him, more than likely. He can't handle this situation, but he's got confidence and hey, fake it till you make it, right? So he's like, hey, you're completely surrounded. You try anything, you're gonna get shot. Here's the deal, take your white undershirt off. We're gonna wave that above our head like a white flag so you don't get shot approaching the line because I'm marching an entire fucking company of people towards the line that are all Japanese. So yeah. Grab your white shirts, start waving them, and we're gonna run that way. And with that, Guy brings in 52 POWs, hands them over to the chain of command, and he
Hurley just made money.
The official green light to be a lone wolf going out doing his maverick shit on his own. The chain of command is now not only looking the other way, but they're basically endorsing it as much as they possibly can. And Captain Schwab gives him the nickname the Pied Piper of Saipan, and Hurley wins the bet pool because nobody thought he was going to be bringing in more than 50 prisoners because that would be insane. Fast forward, Guy goes out on another solo mission, and at this point, it's basically just rinse and repeat. He's got this whole thing dialed in. He goes out, finds an enemy cave or an enemy dugout, waits till the morning, calls in, hey, come out with your hands up. You're completely surrounded. No point in dying for your Bushido code of honor. You've already lost. We'll treat you with dignity and respect. You're honorable fighters. yada, yada, yada. Unfortunately, on this occasion, a single Japanese soldier comes walking out of the cave with his rifle shouldered. Guy immediately drops him and then yells back into the cave, I said come out with your hands up. Like, guys, this simple instructions. I really need you to follow them. Sure enough, 12 Japanese soldiers come out with their hands up. They start making their way back to the Marine Corps lines. Guy isn't even having them run anymore. He's just having them walk with their hands up. He's gotten more confidence. He knows they're not going to turn on him. He's really starting to feel like he's got the situation under control. And as they're making their way back to the Marine Corps lines, they go through this field, and in this field, there's an ox tied up to a plow. And Guy instructs one of the Japanese guys, like, hey, go get a hold of that ox. Everybody else hop on the cart, and has one Japanese guy escort the ox while he has a gun pointed at the whole lot of them on this trailer. In his head, he's thinking like, that way, if they make a move, I can just unload on the trailer. They're all nice and condensed. I'll be able to take out everybody. But when he approaches the line, the Marines are all laughing their ass off because now Guy is bringing back prisoners and POWs on a fucking ox-guided cart like it's the Oregon Trail. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Everything doesn't always go according to plan, because one of the next times he goes out, he almost dies, but he doesn't almost die from the enemy. He almost dies from the Marines. He's out in the jungle looking for enemies, and then all of a sudden he just starts taking indirect fire from artillery, mortars coming from where the Marines are. They're just blowing the entire side of this mountain the fuck up. He runs, he dives in between two rocks. He's literally just huddled up in the fetal position, hiding by these rocks as this massive artillery barrage just keeps destroying the earth around him. And it just keeps going, and it keeps going.
Yeah, nothing like some good old-fashioned fratricide. Although, thankfully, the side part is not going to happen this time around, because obviously he's going to live. Yeah, it's one of the risks. Like, this is a risk that comes with basically being a scout. Is when you're a scout, especially like during World War II, where you don't have great communication back to the front lines. Exactly. They're not going to know your exact position. They're not going to know, okay, we shouldn't be dropping shells in this area. We've got scouts here. We need to leave them be. I don't even want to think about how many scouts during World War II died because of fratricide. Because they simply did not know where they are. Well, Revan, you have plans with command to avoid fire, but plans change. The scouts may need to deviate from their previously determined path, or something may occur that will force the hands of the mortar and artillery fire that they will have to engage. And again, with lack of communication capability during World War II, shit can go sideways. So that's one of the dangers of scout troops, and like you're saying, the Pathfinders, the Pathfinder groups, where they're out in front of everything, and your support back on the line may not know exactly where you are.
He's in the fetal position hiding for 10 hours straight while they bombard this area all night long. And somewhere during this 10 hours, it dawns on him, oh shit, if they're bombarding this much, they must have seen a ton of activity here. Even when the artillery stops, I'm probably going to be completely surrounded. I got to get the fuck out of here. That morning, the artillery fire stops. He hops up and is booking it back towards the Marine Corps lines. And he comes up on a bunch of Japanese, well, what's left of a bunch of Japanese. They're just pieces at this point, really. And there's just, anatomical confetti everywhere. And he's like, oh, that's a nice watch. That's a nice watch. Oh, they also have sake and hard candy. And he just basically, loots all these bodies for all the good shit, which, is that a war crime? Kinda. Does anybody care? No, not really. Everybody's doing it in World War II. It's part of the game. So he comes back.
He didn't realize he didn't realize this turned from COD to a fucking lure shooter, and he's making the best of it.
The front lines, not with prisoners, but with a bunch of sake, so everybody's happy.
Very good.
And then for his next adventure, he again almost dies, and again, it's not by the enemy, it's by other Marines and a lack of communication. You see, Guy is now no longer officially working as a scout, despite the fact that that's his MLS. He's been now working with the intelligence section because, well, he's basically just going out and capturing POWs and turning them over to military intelligence. So that's who he's working with. And one of the scout platoons asks for 2 volunteers to go with him from the intelligence section. So obviously Guy and Hurley volunteer to go. Now the scouts, it's a small unit of like 8-12 guys. They're used used to going out behind the wire together. They're used to communicating. They know how to look out for one another. They're all friends. They all know each other. And Guy and Hurley are the two guys that are kind of tagging along. So in the dark of night, the scouts aren't really paying attention because they're not used to having stragglers that don't know what they're doing and don't know how to keep up with them. And they end up losing the scouts in the middle of the night. And it's just him and Hurley, and they're lost. So they try to catch back up and find the scouts, but they're not able to do it. They're scouts, they're sneaky. That's the whole point. So Hurley's like, well, let's just head back to the Marine Corps line. And Guy's like, no, absolutely not. Everybody's gonna think that we're cowards and we dipped out on this scout mission. So we're just gonna go look and try to find some more POWs or keep trying to find the scouts for a couple hours. That's what they do. They're roaming around the jungle at night looking for the scouts. And eventually they're like, okay, fuck it. We'll go back to the line. Nobody's gonna think we're a coward at this point. So they head back to the line. It's still dark out. And you know, this is a bigger mission with more people involved. So it was a little bit more coordinated. And there was a password for going out behind the wire. And the password tonight was to yell cities, and then the line was gonna respond back with the name of a US city, and then they were supposed to respond back with another name of another US city. So they kind of approach the line, they yell out cities, and the Marines just start opening up with machine gun fire. They duck into a foxhole and take cover, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? The fire finally dies down, and they yell out again, cities. The Marines open up fire.
Did they broach a wrong portion of the line that didn't have the password? That's the one thing I'm thinking of. That when they returned back to the line, they went to the wrong spot. Yeah, maybe Atsunashi could be that somebody got the codes wrong, like they got it backwards. That they were supposed to yell out a city name, or God only fucking knows. They showed up too soon after they. Well, student, they were saying that they were saying like they were out for a couple of hours. Okay, they did get. All right, I'm guessing Nick will explain this. Although interestingly enough, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but I know that when it comes to like was it like the front line with the code usage? I don't know. Have I ever mentioned it to you guys about how they've sort of changed how they do use of code words when you're approaching line, or when you're approaching friendly units with the use of the codes? Did I ever mention how they've changed it from back during World War II? How they sort of modernized it? At least how I know that they used to is like, you know, Nick was saying like when you're approaching a friendly line at night. You know, as they were saying, like, you're supposed to call out cities, that the line would respond with a city name, and then you would respond with another city name. And I know this was true at least, like, a while ago. Maybe this has changed. Maybe they've updated it more since then. But I know the way it used to be a while back, from what people have told me, is you had the two code words, but what you were supposed to do is you were supposed to say these code words in a sentence so that if an enemy was nearby listening, they wouldn't know what the code word was. So if the code word was purple and the response code was triangle, you know, the person approaching would use it in. No, I don't think it would have been. I don't think they usually did like Flash and Thunder because they were too close together. Sketty is that the call out code word was usually rather different from the receive code word. So, for the specific purpose of that, the enemy would not be able to, and using it in just, in a sentence, the enemy would not be able to pick out which word in the sentence was the code word, and thus they wouldn't be able to really replicate it. So it'd be like, boy, the skies are looking purple today. It's like, yeah, it seems like it's looking kind of like in the Bermuda Triangle. And then you'd have both the purple and the triangle, and they could get it. So now, it may have been updated even further since then, especially with the advent of technology. But, from what I've heard in terms of call and receive code words, that was kind of how they've done it, like, I don't know, what, two or so decades ago? That's how they used to do it. is they would mix it into a sentence, and a very innocuous sentence. It was supposed to sound conversational, so that the enemy would not know there's a code word in there, and they wouldn't be able to pick up on that code word. And so when the enemy tried to come in and just kind of do like normal, if the enemy were to try and come up and try and just do, oh, we just got casual conversation, and they'll let us in, they wouldn't know that there was a code word laced in there, and they could get tripped up, and they wouldn't say the code word, and then it's like, Bob's your uncle, bang, you're dead. Again, maybe it's changed since then. It's entirely possible it has, especially with the advancement of technologies. But that's what I've heard in terms of the updating of the code phrases. And Ozo Midriff, thank you for the follow.
Again.
Somebody started shooting at us first! They're still fucking shooting at us!
Guy and Hurley don't realize this in the moment, but the scouts had already returned and they had used that password, and the guards knew that there was only one unit out there that was going to use that password. So the guards in their head are thinking that Japanese were trailing the scouts. They heard what the password was, and now they're trying to take advantage of it.
And there it is. So you guys are right. The scouts showed up already, used the password, and they thought the enemy had heard it and was using it. Yep, you guys were absolutely right. And I'm wondering if this is one example of why this system doesn't quite work, and why they changed it to be used in innocuous sentences where it looks like there's just a friendly conversation.
To sneak up on the Marines and kill them. But Guy doesn't know that yet, but he does know that yelling cities isn't working, so he just yells out in perfect English, "We're Marines, stop shooting." The Marines on guard then yell out, "What's the password?" And Guy, in a stroke of brilliance, yells out the name of a US city, but he picks a very particular city because he knows that a Japanese soldier isn't going to be able to say it correctly, and that's going to signal to the Marines, oh shit, they're actually Americans. So Guy yells out, Honolulu, knowing that a Japanese person trying to copy English would pronounce it Honolulu.
Nice, very nice.
And with that, they're let back into the Marine lines without getting shot at. Buh! You can't say that. That was kind of racist. Buh! Okay, first of all, I'm just repeating history. This is what happened.
Facts.
That's not my fault. Secondly, if you own a pair of Lululemons or you've ever been to a mall with a Lululemon store and that didn't offend you, shut up. Go ahead and Google why Lululemon is called Lululemon and get back to me with the racism bullshit. From here, the Battle of Saipan is progressing, and day by day, the Marines are taking over more and more of the island. And with that, Guy kind of abandons his original protocol of waiting until morning, and he just starts going out during the day. He starts going out at night. Whenever he captures a group of prisoners, he brings them in, and then if it's still got time left in the day or time left at night, or he doesn't need sleep or food, he just goes right back out again and captures even more prisoners.
Chat, you realize what he's doing, don't you? Do you? How many of you have already picked up what Guy is doing? Show of hands, how many of you have picked up what he's doing? Chat, he's literally collecting Pokemon. He's literally out there collecting fucking Pokemon. He is gonna be the very best. Where's Pikachu? Where's it? Where's his motherfucking Pikachu?
And as this continues to go on, he kind of becomes more and more of a renegade. He quits wearing his Marine Corps cap and he starts wearing just a normal baseball cap. He quits wearing
Wait, okay, hold up. For those of you that have seen this before, no, I'm not asking for spoilers. For those of you that have already watched the video, please tell me Nick actually goes that route and actually makes the one-to-one on it and says he's literally collecting Pokemon decades before Pokemon was even a thing. Please tell me he goes there. He doesn't? Nick. I'm not upset, Nick. I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. Honestly. It is the US Marines versus the Japanese. He's just out there collecting more and more of them. And you didn't make a collecting Pokemon joke? Disappointed, Nick. I'm sorry. I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Marine Corps boots and starts wearing boots that he took off of a Japanese soldier. His reasoning for that is, I guess when it hits the ground, it's going to sound the same, so it won't alert the Japanese. He starts taking any medals off of Japanese that he captures or kills and putting them on his own uniform because he feels that he's earned them because he beat them in battle. He's really growing into that Pied Piper mythical persona, but nobody really says anything to the guy because he's so overwhelmingly effective.
We need to have Nick run his scripts by you before he records them. I'll tweet at him about it.
No, don't tweet at him about it. Do not tweet at Nick about that. For the all that is holy, don't. The last thing I need is for Nick to come at me and start putting together a fucking binder on me. Don't do it, please. I'm begging you.
I mean, every single person that he brings back is A, a person, whether it's an enemy or not, it's a person that he saved, and B, he probably saved at least one Marine because that guy was gonna kill a Marine. So he's saving a ton of lives and people just kind of let him do whatever the fuck he wants. And as he keeps going out on this mission, he keeps acquiring cool shit. He's got some Japanese officer katanas. He's got a Japanese officer pistol that he keeps on his side.
No, Kendrick, I wouldn't because Nick would try... Because I would be terrified any binder Nick put up on me, she fucking docks me, and I'm trying to avoid that. Thank you very much. I love Nick, but I would be terrified that if he started a binder on me, that he'd be able to dox me, and I don't want to get doxed. Not that I think Nick is bad and would do something bad like that. I'm not. I'm making a joke. I don't think Nick would deliberately try and dox me. I'm making a joke. I do not believe he would actually do that.
He's got some Japanese officer katanas. He's got a Japanese officer pistol that he keeps on his side as like his trademark. He's got all kinds of cool Japanese flags. He has all of these war trophies, which is frowned upon today, but in World War II was completely normal. And some of the other Marines start to get a little bit jealous. They want cool shit too. So he starts bringing out Marines with him on these missions, usually only one guy at a time. On one occasion, his best buddy Hurley goes out with him because he wants a sword. Hurley goes out on one mission. It was pretty protocol standard for him, but Hurley thought it was absolutely crazy. He felt like he almost died. He vowed to never go out on a mission with Guy ever again. On a couple of occasions, he even took out Captain Schaub on missions because Schaub, he wanted to see what was going on. He's been in the Marine Corps longer than Guy has. He was a veteran of Tarawa. He'd never seen an Imperial Japanese soldier willingly surrender that wasn't like seriously wounded on the battlefield and they scooped him up as a casualty. Like he couldn't understand it. He wanted to see it for himself. So they go up to this cave. Guys yell some shit into the cave in Japanese and Captain Schaub's like, what'd you tell him? And he's like, I told him I was going to blow him the fuck up if they didn't come out here with their hands up. And he's like, huh.
That's it?
Well, that worked. And then they brought back a bunch more prisoners and they just keep doing it.
Okay. I saw a clip from the last unsub that got put out last week where he talks about that, where he tells the story to the unsub guys. This is the one thing I know about Guy because he actually told the story to unsub.
On another mission, Guy goes out on his own and he's making his way through these sugarcane fields and he eventually comes up onto the farmhouse that all these sugarcane fields belong to. And as he's sneaking through these sugarcane fields, he gets a view of the front of the house, and sitting out in front of the house is a brand new Harley. It's not really a conventional motorcycle. It's like a three-wheeler with a little cart thing on the back to haul shit, but it's a Harley nonetheless, and Guy loves riding his motorcycle back home. He wants this Harley. And at first, he can't believe it. Like, what is an American-made motorcycle doing here? And I thought that was weird too, and I tried to figure out why or how an American-made motorcycle would be getting used by the Japanese military, and apparently during the Great Depression, Harley was struggling, so they actually gave out a licensing agreement to Japanese companies so that Japanese companies could recreate their own version of a Harley, and then they would manufacture them in China, and they were very popular in the 1930s, and they were used by the Japanese military all through World War II. So to be
I wonder, that makes me wonder, so is that why some of the most famous modern day motorbikes, like the sport bikes, come out of Japan? Is this what sparked that? Like when Harley gave them the license to do it after the war, they sold the plans and they were able to just tweak them and they were able to start doing sport bikes as opposed to the cruisers, like the Harley cruisers. Oh, so that's what spawned the Suzukis, the Yamahas, the Hondas with their sport bikes. Interesting. You know what? I never knew how Japan had gotten its start with the crotch rockets, the rice burners, whatever colloquialism you want to use for sport bikes. That, I'm guessing, is how they get started. Okay, that's interesting. That it got started by the Great Depression with Harley Davidson saying, here's a license, you can build our bikes in Japan. And after World War II, they just tweaked the designs. Interesting.
To be fair, it's technically not a legitimate Harley made by Harley here in the US, but it is Harley's design manufactured by a Japanese company. It's the closest thing he's going to get to a Harley.
Yes.
Not really believing it's a Harley at first, he starts creeping closer and closer towards this farmhouse. He's like 200 yards away, and he gets closer. He's like 150 yards away, and he's like, that's for sure a Harley. I know what a Harley looks like. That's a fucking Harley. Not only is that a Harley, that's my Harley. I'm taking that shit. But obviously, there's military people inside this farmhouse. He needs to case the place first. So he starts working his way through the sugarcane fields around this farmhouse, getting a good 360 view, figuring out everything that's going on. It takes him like 30 minutes to creep through this sugarcane field, getting a good 360 layout of this farmhouse, and the entire time he's just thinking to himself, like, I'm gonna be the first American on Saipan to have a Harley. This is gonna be absolutely awesome. As the front of the farmhouse and the Harley comes back into view, now there's 3 Japanese soldiers outside standing by his motorcycle. And at this point, he's like, fuck, okay, they're not gonna surrender. It's broad daylight. They can clearly see that I don't have them surrounded. This isn't like normal where I have them cornered in a cave and I get to soften them up with grenades and smoke grenades. Like, this is literally just a good on straight up 1v3 fight. I can't bullshit my way through this one. He's like 30 yards away from these guys, hiding in this sugarcane field, just watching them, and he's thinking to himself, like, I should not have swapped out my M1 Grand for this M1 carbine. The M1 carbine, significantly smaller bullet. You have to shoot a man 2-3 times to put him down, or you got to hit him in the exact right spot. It's not like the M1 Grand, which is a high-powered hunting rifle chambered in 30-06, where you hit somebody, they fucking drop. So at this point, he's kicking himself for giving up his M1 Grand. On top of that, he's not a great shot, and he knows he's not a great shot. He barely qualified with his rifle at basic training. So he's just sitting.
Again, a difference from all the other heroes that we've heard of in the past, where he's not a good shot. How many of these outstanding war heroes have we heard about that are crack shots, that they're great shots? Maybe not necessarily sniper quality, maybe not like sniper caliber like Carlos, but like are still good shots. This might be one of the first times where our hero is not a good shot, and he's basically getting by on basically cuts and ingenuity alone. Like, we're into a different level of hero at this point, chat.
In the sugarcane field weighing his options, and he's like, okay, I could just make a clean getaway, but reasons I don't want to do that is A, if I let these guys go, they're going to go on to kill more Marines, and B, I want this fucking motorcycle. But then, as he's watching these 3 guys, one of them decides that they're going to sit on top of the motorcycle, and in Guy's own words, and I quote, I don't like that.
I come about my bicycle, you son of a bitch!
He then immediately jumps up, fires a round straight at that guy's head, makes a direct hit, and then mag dumps the other 2 as he's walking towards them, dropping all 3 of them in a surprise attack. As he's running up to his bike, he makes sure all 3 of these guys are dead. He reloads his car.
Okay. Again, Nick, there was the perfect fucking clip Nick could have put in here, including that, where he drops the one guy, mag dumps the others, drops then, and goes up to the bike. Missed opportunity for the perfect clip here. From Pirates of the Caribbean, at World's End, where Jack is about to eat a peanut with a fork, and other Jack fires, drops him, and Jack walks over and goes, "My peanut." Gulp. That would have been the perfect fucking clip for this. Absolutely fucking perfect. Damn it, Nick. Bye, Harley.
carbine, hops on the bike. He's not worried about it being booby-trapped because the other guy was just sitting on it, and he fucking takes off. He's in a hurry, doesn't know if there's more soldiers in that farmhouse or not, and he's not sticking around to find out. So he peels off, puts a bunch of distance between him and that farmhouse, finds some cover, pulls over real quick, pops his top off, pulls his white undershirt off, throws his top back on, and then continues driving back to the base. As he gets within eyesight of the Marine Corps lines, he's driving one-handed, waving his white skivvy shirt over his head so they don't shoot him. He makes it into the base, and everybody's like blown away. Guy has a fucking Harley in Japan. Everybody's coming up, they're talking to him, they're checking out the motorcycle, like this is the big event for the day, like this is the cool thing that's gonna happen today. And then, after a little while, some major comes up and is like, everybody off the bike, we need it over at headquarters. And they just straight up confiscate Guy's motorcycle. He tries to argue with the major. Major's not having it. He outranks him. Go fuck yourself. You're a private first class. I'm a major. I'm taking this motorcycle. It's mine. So in the moment, Guy's pissed off. He wanted that bike, but in hindsight, later in life, he did say it was probably all for the best because he was a young, dumb kid, and riding that Harley through enemy territory probably would have gotten him killed. And at the end of the day, he was just happy to be the first American on Saipan to ever have a Harley.
There you go. Uh-oh.
All the events that we've talked about have all unfolded in the matter of like a couple of weeks. The Battle of Saipan only goes from June 14th till July 9th. And by early July, the Marines had taken over most of the island, and it was very clear to everybody on the island that the Marines were going to take the entire thing. Because of that, both the Japanese soldiers and the Japanese civilians get more and more desperate, and it turns into one of the most brutal and horrific events that I've ever looked into. Remember, as I stated earlier, because of Japanese propaganda, a significant portion of the Japanese population truly believes that America is cannibalistic barbarians that will do horrible, unspeakable things to them if they are captured, and it is better to die fighting the Americans or to just die than be captured. Because of this, as Guy continues to clear more caves, there's an increasing number of civilians that sometimes they surrender with the Japanese soldiers, sometimes he comes across caves with no Japanese soldiers and he convinces them to surrender. But on other occasions, there's caves where they don't surrender and he ends up throwing his grenades into the caves and he ends up killing civilians. More often than not, they were all holding guns, ready to fight him to the death, and he just didn't have an option. On one occasion, he approaches a cave and he yells into the cave, you know, come out, surrender, we're not gonna hurt you, yada, yada, yada. And an elderly man and an elderly woman, a couple, like in their 60s, walk out, grandparents, and they're standing there and the old man has a grenade in his hand with his hand on the pin. And Guy tells him to drop the grenade.
Ember, dear, please brace yourself. This part gets bad.
I can already see it. I can already see it. Oh, God.
Has a grenade in his hand with his hand on the pin. And Guy tells him to drop the grenade. And the old man just looks at him, pulls the pin, lets the spoon go, and holds it as Guy takes cover. And he just stands there holding it until it detonates, killing him and his wife, clearly under the impression that that was a better alternative than to be captured.
Oh my God! Hello! Oh God! Cut this fucking propaganda! This fucking propaganda! Oh God, it wasn't for that fucking propaganda. You wanna just take it back? They would have been okay. This tackle, it doesn't matter that they were against it. They didn't have to die. Stop. What? God damn it. God damn it. Oh, fuck. Shit.
Ember, I meet a guy who was in World War II and he told me he was in that same place where Guy was and he came across a mom with a baby and did the same thing.
Oh Okay. Oh my god. Shit. Oh, hey. God. Oh my god. This. Oh. No, Bolton, no, I will not. No, I will not change the video. I will not. Just because something is hard for me to watch doesn't. If just because something is hard for me to watch doesn't mean I'm not gonna watch it. The people that went through this deserve the respect. Even if it hurts like fucking hell. They deserve the respect with having their story told. And I'm gonna watch it through to the fucking end. Okay. Can you get through this?
By Guy. As the Marines progressed and took the island, obviously they were taking cities and small villages, and Guy was going with these larger military movements, doing everything he could to try to convince people to surrender and not have to get killed by the Marines. Like, don't fight, just give up, please. And what would happen more often than not when they came to a village was, once it became clear that the Marines were going to win and people truly believed that the Marines were going to do horrible things if they were captured, some of the soldiers and a lot of the civilians, rather than being captured, would run to nearby cliffs and jump off, thinking that
And what kills me is so many fucking people died and they didn't have to. That's what kills me. They didn't have to die. The Marines were not gonna hurt them if they just surrendered. They would have taken them back to the line. They would have made sure they're safe. This is what fucking kills me. They didn't have to die. Though. Good. Oh God. Oh.
Would be a better death. Now, obviously, this is absolutely horrible for anybody that has to witness this. Nobody wants that to happen, but to Guy, it was especially traumatic because he was the only Marine there that could understand Japanese and hear what these people were saying. As him and the Marines are begging and pleading these people not to jump off these cliffs, Guy can actually hear and understand children begging their parents not to kill them because they...
Fuck you. Damn it. Bishop. please, just leave it alone. Don't buy harm. Please. I know it wasn't intentional. I know it wasn't. Leave it alone. Please. Xanax, you're fine. You're fine. I promise you're fine. Please don't think I'm mad. Please, Xanax, please don't think I'm mad. I'm not. Guys, please, leave Xanax alone. I know it wasn't done to be mean. Just leave it alone, please. It's fine. It's all okay. I promise. It's all okay. I got this. I promise. Oh. Okay. Okay.
Don't understand. They don't know the Japanese propaganda. They don't understand why their parents are about to hurl them off of a cliff, and Guy has to just sit there and witness it, and there's nothing he can do. On July 6, 1944, Guy goes out on another solo mission. He sneaks out into the jungle. It's an overnight mission, doesn't really find anybody during the day, and he's in an area that today is known as Marpai Point or the Bonsai Cliffs. Guy had no idea that this was actually the hottest area in Saipan at this point in time, and that General Saito, the Japanese general remaining on the island, had ordered all of his remaining forces, almost 5,000 Japanese soldiers, that they were going to die with honor, and they are all ordered to launch bonsai attacks and take 7 Americans with them before they died for the emperor. It was Japan's last-ditch effort to maintain control of the island. By the next morning, July 7th, all of these bonsai attacks had commenced, and Guy was behind enemy lines, surrounded by thousands of enemy soldiers, and has no other option but to climb to a high vantage point and watch this intense battle unfold. The Marines do take casualties, but it's nothing compared to what the Japanese experience. The Japanese are just running head-on into Marine machine gun fire, dying at a rate of 8-to-1 to that of the Marines. Over 4,500 Japanese soldiers died that day conducting these bonsai charges. Guy stays out all day and all night again because he's behind enemy lines, completely surrounded. He's scared to move, so he just stays overnight again, and on the morning of July 8th, he starts making his way back towards the lines when he runs into a cave that has some Japanese soldiers that had survived the bonsai attacks in there, and he's kind of thinking maybe they're going to be willing to surrender. They just suffered tremendous casualties. They know the jig is up. The game is over. I can still save some of these guys. He ends up finding 2 Japanese soldiers that survived the battle. He convinces them to surrender, and as he's talking to them, he's like, is there anybody else that you know of in the area that you want to be able to go talk to and get them to surrender to, so you guys don't get killed when the Marines come through here with their flamethrowers and their grenades, because they're going to be clearing out every single cave. The soldiers tell him they are aware of a bunch of other survivors, and one of them volunteers to go and talk to those survivors and see if they're willing to surrender. The other one stays back with Guy. While the first guy is gone, he ends up talking with this Japanese soldier kind of casually and was like, you know, how come you didn't volunteer to go with him? And he's like, well, because if I can't convince them to surrender, they're going to kill me for trying to get them to surrender. At this point, Guy's kind of shitting his pants because he's like, okay, well, either this guy legitimately is willing to risk his life to get these people to surrender, or B, and probably more likely, he just used it as an excuse to get away and he's going to come back with more Japanese soldiers and they're going to kill me. But he figures, fuck it, I'm committed now, so he just kind of waits. And after a little while, 12 Japanese soldiers come walking up, not with their hands raised, but holding rifles. They're not pointed at him, but they're still holding rifles. Shit has officially hit the fan. The officer in charge of the soldiers starts talking to Guy, and Guy kind of realizes, like, okay, this guy's potentially opening to surrender. I just need to convince him. And Guy plays the entire thing perfectly. He lies his fucking ass off. He basically tells this officer, you know, please sit down, which in Japanese culture, like, kind of makes him the authority figure, like he's been sent there to negotiate. And he informs this officer, like, General Howling Mad Smith, my shogun, sent me here because he was so impressed with how valiantly you guys fought in battle yesterday. He doesn't want to kill such great warriors in caves like vermin. He believes that you deserve an honorable life, and he wants you to surrender to him, and when the war is over, he will honorably return you to Japan to live with your people. At this point, the officer's quiet. He's thinking. Guy knows he's right.
Oh, that is perfect. He played that perfect. Absolutely played it perfect. Yeah, he used the culture. He used the culture against them, but he did it in a way to save their lives. Like, it's the perfect way to, and this isn't even really appropriate to say, but it's the perfect way to, quote unquote, abuse their culture or use their culture against them, which is not fair. It's not a fair thing to consider it like that, but it's kind of what he did. He used their culture against them, but did it in the best, most humane way possible, so that they would use their culture to trick them into surrendering, so they wouldn't die. To try and ensure that they wouldn't die. It's, oh my God, it's so twisted and fucked up, but it's humanely beautiful. It's just, God bless you, God fucking bless you.
Right on the verge of actually pulling this shit off. So he pulls out his cigarettes, offers the officer one. He accepts a cigarette, guy lights it for him. He takes a couple of drags and the officer's like, do you have doctors? I have a lot of wounded people. And guy is like, oh shit, I'm gonna pull this off. He's not thinking about his honor and his Bushido code, none of that bullshit. He's thinking about all the people that he can save too. And he realizes he's gonna close this deal. And guy's like, yes, absolutely. We have medicine, we have doctors. If you guys surrender, I can take care of everybody. And with that, the officer takes one last big drag of his cigarette and says, so be it, I'm your prisoner. The officer then orders some of his soldiers to return.
Gramps, that is it. That is beautiful. Gramps, that is a beautiful way to put it. Trading of atrocities to find lost compassion. That is so perfect. You're absolutely... I don't know if that's your quote or if that's a quote from someone else. It is 100% true. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cigarette and says, so be it, I'm your prisoner. The officer then orders some of his soldiers to return back to where they came from and order everybody to come out. They've surrendered. They're going to start getting evacuated back to the Marine Corps base so they can get people to the hospital and get everybody fed and taken care of. And within 30 minutes, lines and lines of people start showing up. Lines so long that Guy can't see the end of them, and he's shitting his pants like, holy fuck, how many people are there? At this point, he's dropped his weapon. It doesn't matter anymore. He can't take all these people even if he tried. He doesn't even have enough bullets. If they want to kill him, he's dead. So he's just doing everything he can. He's trying to split up the military personnel and the civilians. He's telling the soldiers get their white skivvy shirts ready to wave surrender. He's trying to do everything he can for the wounded with the few medical supplies that he does have. And the officer is getting more and more impatient because he wants the people that are severely wounded to start getting medical treatment right away. But Guy doesn't have a radio. He has no way to communicate back that he needs help. And as the officer's temper is getting shorter and shorter and Guy's starting to get that feeling in the pit of his stomach like this guy's going to change his mind and just kill me, the Japanese soldiers start yelling, Marines, Marines. Off in the distance, there's a Marine unit approaching.
I don't know,
and Guy
Molten. I
immediately
don't know.
tells them start waving their white shirts, and the Marines see it, and they start making their way directly towards Guy. There's a bunch of Marines coming on foot, but there's a Jeep that makes it to Guy first, and he tells the guys on the Jeep, here, take as many of these wounded as you can straight to sick bay. Tell them we have a bunch of people surrendering. I need more backup to help get all these people out of here. Within 30 minutes, 100 Marines show up and start helping him process all these prisoners and start getting them all back to the line. And once everything's good and going, Guy's just like, fuck this, I'm out. And he heads back to the base. He's been out for almost 3 days straight, hasn't slept. It's been the most stressful time of his life. Goes straight to his cot, eats some food, and passes out. Next morning, Guy wakes up and Captain Shaw meets him and tells Guy that he just negotiated the surrender of over 800 Japanese prisoners.
God.
With that, by July 11th, the Battle of Saipan comes to an end. There's still going to be skirmishes.
Milton Havoc, I would say, I would wager that before he passed out, he might very well have cried himself to sleep when he finally racked out. Not due to weakness, but just because of 3 days of stress and adrenaline and an absolutely fucking amazing outcome. I would not be surprised if he just literally cried himself to sleep that day after all was said and done. It would not surprise me, and I would not think any less of him as a Marine and as a hero if he did that. I wouldn't think any less of him at all.
and pockets of resistance of small Japanese units that refuse to surrender, that are willing to fight to the death, but the official battle itself has ended, and the main component of the actual organized Japanese military has been completely dismantled. And from here, Guy gets sent over to the next island known as Tinian. And for Guy, at this point, it's pretty much the same exact thing, rinse and repeat, same thing he was doing over on Saipan. Find Japanese holdouts, convince them to surrender, bring them in. While he's on Tinian, he actually brings in 154 more POWs. It's pretty much the same thing, not much stands out, but there is one instance that stands out to him. Guy finds himself at the mouth of this cave. He knows there's Japanese people in there. He yells in, gives you a spiel, you know, come out, surrender. I'm not gonna hurt you, I'll take care of you. There's no point in dying for your honor. Yada, yada, yada. He gives him 3 to 5 minutes. Nothing really happens. Okay, you did this to yourself. He grabs his grenade, gets his finger on the pin, gets ready to pull it. And as his finger's on the pin, he hears a child crying inside the cave.
Oh,
so
fuck.
he puts his grenade back and he can't do it. He's seen too many dead kids already. These kids are truly 100% victims in all of this. I mean, there's civilians that are fighting, refusing to surrender. They're victims, but nowhere near to the degree that these innocent kids are. These kids don't even comprehend what's going on. And Guy has no idea what the situation is inside this cave. He could be in there with Japanese soldiers that are refusing to let them come out and surrender. And that's not the kid's fault. And he just can't kill him for that. But he also knows that he can't let him leave that cave and have those soldiers come out and have an opportunity to kill more Marines in the future. So he doesn't know what to do. He's just sitting at the mouth of this cave, weighing his options. And after a couple minutes, an elderly woman in her 60s comes out, shaken like a leaf. She's absolutely horrified. And Guy, you know, tries to console her like, hey, I'm not going to hurt you. Just what's going on? I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to feed you. You're gonna be safe. And the old woman is just begging him, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me. He's like, I'm not. Is there anybody else in the cave? And she says there were Japanese soldiers, but they left this morning and haven't come back. Right now, it's just her and her 10-year-old granddaughter inside of this cave. And Guy is
oh God, so close. Oh God, they abandoned them and he's so close to killing them. Oh God. I know, I saved him. I know. Oh God, but he got so close. He got so fucking close. Oh, I can only imagine what would have happened if he actually threw a grenade. That would have fucking killed him. Oh, that would have absolutely fucking killed him if he threw that grenade. Oh my God. It was so close. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. You didn't do it. Thank God. Fuck. Oh, oh. Oh, God. Oh my God, that was so close. Oh God. Oh Jesus. Oh, that was so close. Oh God. Oh.
like, okay, have her come out and I'll bring you guys back to camp, get you food, medical attention, whatever you need. So grandma goes inside the cave, comes back out with the 10-year-old granddaughter. The granddaughter is crying. She's inconsolable. The grandmother tells him, you know, this is my granddaughter, Michiko. Her father died a couple of days ago in the battle. He wasn't a soldier. He was just a sugarcane farmer. And we've been living here for a couple of years. We came here from mainland Japan and we've been living here and we just got caught up in this battle. And Guy feels horrible for the little girl. You know, her dad just died. He doesn't know what to do. So he just starts bringing him back to the Marine Corps lines, to the POW camp, and ends up dropping him off. 2 days later, him and Hurley go out on another mission. They find another cave. Inside, there's two guys. One's a soldier. The other one appears to be a soldier, but he's not in a uniform, so Guy still thinks he might be a soldier. They convince him to surrender. They take him back to the Marine Corps lines, and they end up interrogating him, trying to get whatever intel they can. And Guy is there interrogating the guy that's in civilian clothing because he wants to prove that this guy's actually a soldier, so they know. And during the interrogation, he ends up telling Guy that he's not a soldier. He just came here from mainland Japan to farm sugarcane, and he starts begging Guy like, look, I'm not trying to fight you guys. I don't want to hurt any Americans. Just please let me go. I promise I'll come back. I have to go try to find my mother and my daughter. They're out there somewhere. And the light bulb goes off in Guy's head like,
oh my God,
there's no fucking way. And he looks at the guy.
Oh my fucking God. God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh God. Finally I get happy tears. Finally I get happy tears. um, oh, thank God. I finally get happy tears through this whole story.
Is like, what's your daughter's name? And he says, Michiko. And he goes, I know where your daughter is. He immediately runs across camp, finds Captain Schaub, tells him everything about the situation. And Captain Schaub is like, go, take a Jeep, take him to the POW camp right now, find their daughter. So they get to the POW camp. Guy explains the situation to the guard. He goes and grabs his commanding officer. Guy explains the situation. The commanding officer is like, bro, I've got thousands of people here. We're just trying to get everybody fed and keep them warm. I'm not keeping track of like names. I have no idea where this person is. They're somewhere inside the camp. If you want to go find them, knock yourself out. So they're walking through this POW camp for a while, and then finally Michiko actually sees them first and starts yelling in Japanese, father, father, and runs up and hugs her dad. They're crying. They're hugging Guy. Guy's hugging them. Everybody's crying. It's just this perfect moment where finally, something good has happened on this godforsaken island. They finish up. Guy says their goodbyes. Michiko gives him one last hug and says in Japanese, thank you, Mr. Marine. Thank you. And with that, Guy sets off to get back to work. They get back to camp. Captain Schaub calls up his intelligence crew and he's like, okay, here's the deal. Promotions have finally come through. Everybody's getting their promotions tonight. We're giving out awards, medals. One of you has earned a very high-ranking award. Everybody kind of looks down the line at Guy like, obviously he's getting the award. Rumor is it's going to be the Medal of Honor. He's pumped. Going to be a great time. Couple hours later, he calls them back into formation. They start handing out rank. So they go to hand out the rank first. Guy does not get a promotion. Guy should be getting a promotion just based off of how long he's been in theater alone, not including all the extraordinary shit he's done. What the fuck is going on? He's already getting kind of pissed. In the back of his mind, he's like, maybe it's okay. Maybe they're about to give me the Medal of Honor and they're going to give me the rank at the same time. That makes sense, right? So they start giving out awards, and Captain Schaub did in fact put Guy in for the Medal of Honor. He wrote the whole thing up, sent it up the chain of command, and they bumped it down to a silver star. So Guy is awarded a silver star, not the Medal of Honor, and he receives no rank. There's no way around it. Guy is absolutely pissed off. I mean, Alvin York earned the Medal of Honor when he captured 132 POWs. Guy has captured over 800 in a single day, and his total is well over 1,000.
See, now that's some bullshit.
In his mind, there's absolutely no reason he shouldn't be a sergeant or higher and have the Medal of Honor. The only thing he can come up with is that it's because of his race. And to be fair, that's a strong possibility. As I said, the Marine Corps was 100% white until 1941. He was one of the first not white Marines, and the higher you go up that command structure, the older those guys are. I mean, the high-ranking Marines at this point in time are all dudes that fought in World War I. Presumably, they were more racist than the younger generation, so it would make it extremely hard for things like rank and medals to get awarded to somebody that was Hispanic with a Hispanic name. Now, personally, I do think that that definitely did play a role, but the part that he's not really considering is that while he was doing incredible things, those incredible things were very maverick type behavior, going out at lone wolf style, doing what you want, dressing how you want, acting how you want. It's not the type of thing that the Marine Corps or any brand.
Yes, Moose. Silver Star is basically like one step down from the Medal of Honor. And I'm sorry, but it started out with him. It may have started out with Guy freelancing. Yes, it started out that way, but then it became okay, this is your job and this is what you're doing. It transitioned from freelancing and going maverick to, okay, these are your orders, this is what you're going to do. And that should have. And when he secured those 800 POWs, that was under orders by his commanding officer. You keep doing what you do. So, even if that is part of the reason, it's a bullshit fucking reason.
Branch of the military would want to enshrine and uphold and say, hey, this is how everybody should be acting to achieve the highest honors. Because let's face it, if everybody was trying to do what Guy was doing, it would be absolute chaos and nothing would get done. That being said, I still think Guy deserved the Medal of Honor. If the chain of command is willing to look the other way to let him accomplish incredible things, they should also have the balls to reward him for accomplishing those incredible things. All right, from here, Guy ends up going back to Saipan. Tinian was a much smaller island. They faced a lot less resistance. It was a much shorter battle. It was only about 6 or 7 days. And after that, they send him back to Saipan because...
Rathan, you are absolutely correct. There were plenty of people who did not follow the rules and didn't and were not like the perfect soldiers. And they did some absolutely incredible feats during the war, and they still got Medal of Honor. And like, for fuck's sake, why didn't they like at least give him a fucking promotion? Like, okay, you don't want to award him the Medal of Honor because he went rogue and because he freelanced. Okay, maybe. But at least give him fucking rank that he earns. Fuck. And this, I think, is one of the reasons why veterans, this is one of the reasons, like, why veterans like Eli, who say, they don't regret that the time they spent in the military, but they would not recommend anybody going into the military. It's because, it's granted, obviously, potato, World War II versus modern day military, but it's the same shit, different story. It's... Ugh. Fuck, I hate when they do this shit. Fuck! And Dwayne and Gramps, thank you guys both for the dear ones and the Prime. Thank you guys so much. And Gramps, I know it's you from Kick. I absolutely recognize your name instantly. Don't worry, I know it's you.
There's still a bunch of rogue elements, small units of Japanese soldiers that are basically conducting guerrilla warfare, willing to fight to the bitter end, trying to resist the Americans. The ringleader in this entire thing is Captain Obu. He's the mastermind behind all this guerrilla warfare, and Guy decides he's going to go out there, he's going to track down Captain Obu, and he's either going to bring him in as a POW, or he's going to kill him.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
So Guy resumes his normal operations on Saipan. He's going out, he's taking in POWs, he's clearing out caves, he's doing his thing. And then one day, a larger army element comes in and asks if they can borrow some marine intelligence guys to show them around the island because they're there to help clean up Saipan too. Guy volunteers to be one of the guys that goes with him. He's guiding these army guys around, and while he's guiding this bigger unit around, they end up getting ambushed by Obu's men. In the opening minutes of the ambush, Guy is hit with machine gun fire, getting struck in the rib, having a bullet knock his baseball cap off, grazing his head, and having a bullet pass through his wrist, shattering the bone, and now his bone is sticking outside of his arm. Last thing Guy remembers hearing is the army commander yelling, "Get this Marine out of here." Next thing he knows, he's waking up in an army field hospital somewhere. He's laying down on a cot, and a nurse is holding a piece of cardboard between him and his hand as the doctor is presumably operating on it. And he's just asking the doctor, "Are you guys going to amputate my hand? Please don't amputate my hand." And the doctor doesn't really reply as one of the nurses puts a mask over his face and tells him to count backwards from 10, and he loses consciousness again. Next thing Guy knows, he's waking up in a hospital, feels like he's been hit by a truck, and he's hungover. He immediately looks down at his hand, sees that it's bandaged up with his fingers sticking out the bandages, and he exclaims to the nurse all happy, like, "Hey, I've still got my hand." To which this grizzled army nurse is like, "Yeah, congratulations. Hey, did you know that you were allergic to morphine?" And he's like, "No, why?" She goes, "Because you're super allergic to morphine and you almost fucking died. Don't ever let anybody give you any type of narcotics ever again."
You promise you won't take any?
I promise. Come on, give me something. Let's go, man. Let's smell the... Hey!
God.
Guy spends the next couple of days in the hospital. His friends are coming in to see him. Everybody's happy that he's okay. And then the Marine Corps, administrative guys come in and they basically inform him that he's going to be med boarded out of the Marine Corps and he's getting shipped back home. Guy argues and then begs and then pleads that they let him stay in the Marine Corps. He's doing something important. He can go out there and save so many more people if they just keep letting him do what he's doing. But they basically tell him, like, "Look, man, by the time you're fully recovered from this injury, this war is probably going to be over. It's winding down right now. On top of that, even if the war isn't over and you're fully recovered, we can't send you back out into frontline combat with how severe your morphine allergy is. You're going to end up getting killed that way." So they just make the decision they're going to send him home. From here, Guy finishes, you know, his initial recovery, gets a couple.
God. Think of everything he overcame. Just say, think of all this, all the biological and medical stuff he overcame just to get there in the first place. At first, he was too short. He managed to get past that. Then it was a punctured eardrum. Somehow he managed to get past that. And now he got the fucking medical trifecta. You're allergic to morphine, which means there's no way you can get aid. And he didn't even know about it in the first place. It's like, God damn. And he was just doing all this crazy shit this whole time. When if one of these Japanese soldiers had just taken a shot at him and hit him, and if he'd hit himself with the morphine syringe, he would have been dead. Fuck. That is just, oh my God. Incredible. Holy shit. And good night, J10.
Couple of days to go back to his camp, say goodbye to everybody, collect his belongings. He gets back into his tent. Everything's fucking thrown everywhere. They've stolen all of his shit. He had katanas, Japanese officer pistols, Japanese medals, flags, all kinds of war trophies, and somebody went in and stole absolutely everything. He's pissed off. He goes, he tells Captain Schaub. Captain Schaub is also pissed off. He says he's going to launch an investigation, but ultimately nothing ever comes of it, and he never gets his stuff back. And that's it. Guy heads back home to America.
God damn it. Okay, that is just fucking insult to injury. This man is a fucking war hero. All of his buddies knew it. You would think that some of them would have had the fucking respect to go, look, this man captured over 1,000 POWs. He is one of our best. You don't touch our shit, especially when they're Marines. God. No. Atanashi, no, you misunderstand. I don't think it was his guys that did it. But I'm shocked that his guys didn't tell whoever was thinking about doing it, you don't touch our boy's shit. That's what I'm surprised, that his boys didn't go, these are the belongings of a fucking war hero. You don't touch his shit. I don't know.
So, Guy gets back home to America, pretty much immediately decides that he's going to move to Mexico, becomes an entrepreneur, opens up a furniture business, sells that, takes the money, invests in a new business. He's into imports and exports. He's also got a fishing business on the side, ends up buying his own plane. He's super into aviation, falls in love with that. And then while he's also living in Mexico, he meets his wife, Ohana Suzuki. They end up getting married. And then in 1957, he has the opportunity to go on a very popular TV show at the time called This Is Your Life. They bring on Guy. He gets to tell his story, and then they surprise him by bringing out now Colonel Schaub that he served under while he was on Saipan, and a bunch of the other guys from the intelligence unit that he was in, and they all completely verify his story that he captured at least 1,500 men and had 33 confirmed kills. Once his amazing story got out, Hollywood heard about it, and they decided they were going to make a movie based on his exploits.
Yeah, Kanito, I noticed that too. So he married a Japanese lady. That's awesome. Moved to New Mexico and married a Japanese lady. It's honestly beautiful.
On Saipan, and that movie came out in 1960. It was called Hell to Eternity, and of course, for the main actor playing Guy Gabaldon, they cast a 6-foot-tall white guy because, you know, that just looks better than a 5-foot, 320-pound Hispanic guy accomplishing all this epic shit. Buh! Why are you harping on the racism thing again? Why does it matter that he was cast as a white guy? Buh! Because it's...
Okay, no. Keyboard Warrior, fuck you. Fuck you, Keyboard Warrior. Because it's fucking important. Because if you are going to tell somebody's story, if you're not going to cast him in the role because he's not an actor, fine, but you cast someone that looks like him. Or at least is a close approximation of it. Literally saying, why are you so upset that they cast a white guy? That's literally fucking racist. We talk about this shit today, where we talk about how, you know, where people are pissed off about white people getting race swapped to non-white people in modern cinema, we are also equally as pissed off when someone who is not white gets race swapped with the white guy. It's equal pissed offness regardless, particularly if it is a historical figure, and god damn it, this man is a historical fucking figure. Clearly, Hollywood has been doing this bullshit for fucking decades. Fucking stop it! When you have historical figures, stop with the fucking race swapping. Stop with the fucking agenda. Whether it's an agenda for white people or if it's an agenda for non-white people, stop with this shit. Okay? It's enough is enough, particularly with historical figures. If you want to maintain historical accuracy, stop with the fucking swapping. Just enough. This is how historical stories get lost. This is how historical stories get twisted. Is when you take old stories and you race swap them like this with completely different ethnicities. This is how you lose these stories. This is how you lose the identities of these historical great figures. Is you go, well, we need to make it, and we need to swap out the race to make it more entertaining for the masses. Fuck that shit. If you're going to tell the story of the historical figure who did great fucking things, your goal should not be, oh, is this going to entertain the masses? Your 100% fucking goal should be, are we doing service and are we doing justice and are we respecting the person behind the role? Are we doing justice and are we respecting the person behind this story? And if the answer is no, shit can the whole fucking thing. If you cannot honor the person whose story you are telling by accurately depicting them in both deed and actor, do not tell the fucking story. Shit can the whole project and move on to something else. It is better to have someone like Nick that can accurately tell the story and actually serve the tale and the history of the person in his way than to just pull some bullshit race swapping just so you can make a fucking buck in Hollywood. Go fuck yourselves, you Hollywood pieces of shit. Fucking stop it. End this shit. Now.
Buh! Why are you harping on the racism thing again? Why does it matter that he was cast as a white guy? Buh! Because it's fucking dumb, that's why, okay? If we're all gonna get mad and complain when a fictional character called Snow White is portrayed as a Colombian girl, I'm gonna get 1,000 times more mad when a real-life war hero has to be portrayed as a different race and be significantly taller, okay? Guy Gabaldon should not be cast as a 6-foot-tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy. He should be a 5'3" Hispanic dude, exactly how he was in real life. Guy is a war hero, show him some respect.
Yes. I just fucking raged that exact thing. He's a fucking war hero. You fucking respect that or you shut the fuck up and you get the fuck out of here. Take one. And there's only one right answer.
Sorry, anyways, after his appearance on This Is Your Life and the movie coming out, there was an enormous push. Everybody was like, why the fuck didn't this guy get the Medal of Honor? Colonel Schaub said that he signed him up for the Medal of Honor and it was kicked down. Nobody knows why. Give this dude the Medal of Honor. Unfortunately, so much time had passed at this point. I mean, it's been 16 years. They were so far away from the event occurring that it would take a literal act of Congress to get him the Medal of Honor, and it just doesn't come to fruition. So they upgrade his Silver Star to the next highest award below the Medal of Honor, the Navy Cross. Cutting back to real life, Guy is still running all of his countries all over Central America. Fidel Castro has come to power. Huge.
Okay, you didn't see it, but Nick said countries. He put I'm covering it. He has a little asterisk that says businesses. So Nick accidentally said countries. He meant businesses.
Guy is still running all of his countries all over Central America. Fidel Castro has come to power. Huge communist movement spreads throughout Central America. There's communist movements in a bunch of countries that he's operating in, and they're trying to nationalize a lot of his business. For those of you that don't know, nationalize is the communist term for I'm gonna steal all your shit. So Guy absolutely hates communism, man after my own heart. He gets pissed off and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go fight Fidel Castro. Puts an ad out in the paper for other war veterans that are willing to grab guns and go to Cuba to fight the communist regime with him, and gets over 1,000 volunteers and legitimately starts organizing his own militia. Guy is like organizing an amphibious landing of Cuba so he can go to war and overthrow Fidel Castro, and is like making headway until the United States Attorney General has to step in and put a kibosh to the entire thing. From here, Guy realizes that his best bet is to just sell all of his companies before they get nationalized. So that's what he does. He sells his companies and then ends up moving with his wife Ohana back to Japan. They lived there for a number of years, then they moved back to California for a little while, and then they end up retiring in Florida, where he would eventually pass away at the age of 80. And that is the story of Guy Gabaldon, aka the Pied Piper of Saipan, a 5'3" Marine that used his ability to communicate to capture over 1,500 POWs and racked up 33 confirmed kills. Not only did he save those 1,500 POWs, but he saved countless Marines that would have died fighting them in combat as well. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that the moral of the story is to communicate. It's literally the most important thing you can possibly do as a human being. Okay, every animal on the planet, the second they are born, they have the ability to do whatever is most important for their survival right out of the gate. When a horse is born, it can sprint in like 30 minutes. When a bee is born, it flies off and starts gathering pollen. And when a human is born, the first thing it does is scream. It attempts to communicate with the people around it. So please, for the love of God, communicate. It's the most important skill you have as a person. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out. Would somebody go update his Wikipedia page so it says the first American to own a motorcycle on Saipan? Please, I feel like he'd appreciate it. All right, for 4th of July, I'm giving away a fully decked out Jeep Gladiator. It has absolutely everything. It has 44-inch wide front and rear axles, a 3.5-inch lift, aftermarket shocks, 37-inch tires with a full-size spare in the back, and custom leather interior.
Slow down, baby.
All you have to do to get entered to win is head over to Bunker Branding or thefatelectrician.com and buy some Fat Electrician merch. I don't care what it is. Shirts, hats, hoodies, water bottles, rubber ducks, absolutely anything is fair game. For every $5 you spend between June 30th and July 31st, you are automatically going to be entered one time to win this Jeep Gladiator. We're going to announce the winner in August.
I was going to check, Euro, somebody did.
You're not allowed to do nice things without the government getting their cut too, meaning that if you win this Jeep, it's going to count as taxable income on your tax return, and you're going to have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars, both in sales tax, registration, and this being taxable income on your taxes. So I'm also going to give the winner a check for $10,000 to hopefully cover all of that. It kind of depends on state to state. And of course, it's going to come with an autographed rubber duck.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
So yeah, go get some Fat Electrician merch over at Bunker Branding or thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out.
And so he would go up that mouth of that cave, and he'd jabber, 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 and pretty soon somebody would dribble out. Not always, but a good part of the time, because he could speak their language, and they apparently they warmed up to that. Well, this was a time when I was out with him on one of these deals. I said, "What do you tell them that?" He said, "I tell them to get their goddamn ass out of there." But he told them in their language that you're a damn fool to stay in there and get killed, and we'll give you medical attention, we'll give you food, we'll give you water and all that, and treat you right. And he was able to convince them of that.
And before I scroll down to the comments, to Nick's point about communication, why do you think one of the military's strongest tenets when it comes to combat is shoot, move, communicate? To this day, I'm pretty sure that the military still one of the basic teachings of combat, I'm pretty sure every single branch of the military is shoot, move, communicate. And top one from his son. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing my dad's story with such great accuracy. I'm grateful there are still people interested in his story. Just a slight correction towards the end. My mom, Ohana Suzuki, was his second marriage. He first married a Russian lady, June Tekhanov, had 6 children from his first marriage and 5 from his second. Jesus. We didn't move to Japan, comment at the end. We actually moved to Saipan, where we, the 5 children, grew up. Dad was a good man. He would often say, I'm not a hero. The only heroes are the ones that didn't make it back. I was just lucky. Dad is buried in Arlington National Cemetery. Chat, we need 07s. We need 07s in chat for this man. 07s, salute emotes for this hand. He was a great man who saved so many more lives than he took in this war. I'm not going to compare him to another hero who did the same because this man deserves to stand on his own. He is one of the few that his only goal in this war was to just try and save as many lives as he could without taking them. And he deserves our respect for it. Oh, God. Hey. Okay. Oh, my goodness. That was an incredible story. Absolutely incredible.